Today's story title is The Fractured Void. The blissful starship drifted haphazardly through the void of space, a relic of humanity's last hope for survival. Aboard were Claire and her 3 children, Mila, age 12, Jace, age 8, and the fragile infant Ava. Claire's brow was furrowed with worry as she glanced out of the cracked viewing pane at the swirling cosmos. The ship's systems had been failing rapidly since the death of her husband during their catastrophic journey. He had been the engineer, the rock of their family, and now, with only the faint hum of the ship's dying engines for company, fear gnawed at Claire's insides. Seeking food, Claire rummaged through the sparse supplies in the ship's galley. They had enough freeze-dried meals to last a couple of weeks, but even that seemed precarious. Just as despair was about to swallow her whole, an alarm blared. The ship's sensors registered an unknown vessel approaching rapidly. "Mom, what's happening?" Mila cried, taking Ava from her lap. Jace clung to his sister, eyes wide with fear. "Stay by me," Claire urged, her voice steady though her heart raced. She pressed buttons frantically as the unknown ship lined up beside theirs. A silhouette appeared in the viewport, a dark ship marked by aggressive, jagged designs reminiscent of predator and prey. Suddenly, a message came through. "Human life form aboard? We need assistance." It was an eerie mechanical voice, devoid of emotion. The siblings exchanged terrified glances. The ship could be a trap, a figment of the gravity of their situation. But desperation has a way of stripping away rationality. "I'll open a comlink," Claire replied. The words tasted bitter, trailing behind them like shadows. Minutes passed before the aliens appeared, a grotesque spectacle of green skin and elongated limbs. They glided aboard, and Claire's grip on Ava tightened. They demanded food and water, and panic surged within Claire. Seeing the pleading faces of her children made her heart tremble. Was she willing to trade the little convenience they had left for safety? She complied, offering them the last of their rations, but it was not enough. In a flash of motion and a glint of a blade, the aliens turned against them. Claire screamed as one of the invaders lunged for Jace. Survival instincts kicked in, and she shoved her children behind her as a fight broke out. Desperately swinging, Claire felt a burning pain as something sharp pierced her arm. The aliens pressed their advantage, overpowering her struggle. Mila cried, hugging Ava tightly, as Claire was knocked down. The last vision Claire had before darkness claimed her was her children's terrified faces staring at her, helpless, as the aliens dragged her away, leaving Jace and Mila screaming her name. Claire regained consciousness in an unfamiliar, dimly lit chamber filled with the rancid stench of decay. She felt restrained, the bonds tight against her wrists and ankles. As fear gripped her, she could hear muffled voices echoing through the cold metal. Panic flared anew as she strained her neck to survey her surroundings. The room appeared to be a makeshift galley. Meat hung suspended from the ceiling, preserved in some grotesque manner. Something primal kicked in, and the threat she'd faced on Earth seemed trivial compared to the malevolence penetrating this place. Moments later, she saw her eldest children, but terror flooded her heart. Mila and Jace were there, shackled, their eyes wide with an eerie mix of despair and resolve. "Mom? Mom?" Mila's voice barely rose above a whisper. "We're okay. We'll get out of this," Claire murmured, trying to project strength. "Why did they take us?" Jace whimpered, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. Before she could respond, a tall alien with dark purple eyes entered, signaling with a series of clicks and hisses. It was part of a cannibalistic race that thrived on the flesh of other beings. Claire's blood froze as she realized the truth of their abduction. They intended to slaughter them for food. Mila's sharp intake of breath echoed through the chamber. "They want to eat us, Mom." The words twisted like a knife in Claire's heart, yet she could find no comfort in denial. As they plotted their escape, bruises forming on Claire's wrists ached with each hopeful plan woven with despair. The walls of hopelessness threatened to close in. The possibility of boiling alive, of being cooked and feasted upon, circulated their thoughts like a morbid song. Days passed in muted silence under the watchful eyes of the alien captors. They were fed scraps dripping with obscure gleams of oil, their hearts growing heavier with each passing moment. Claire learned the horrifying pattern of their captors. Each evening led to what could only be described as a gruesome feast. While her children showed immense bravery, Claire's mind spiraled into darkness. The hope that they could escape dimmed with each stark reminder of their future. One evening, Claire overheard the leaders speaking in their cliques about an upcoming ritual involving a human sacrifice, a boiling alive spectacle that left a cold shiver crawling up her spine. The fear of what came next clung to her like a vice. "Mom," Mila said quietly one night as they huddled together, "if they boil us, I don't want to feel anything." Claire held them close, her tears falling silently onto the cold metal floor. The day of the ritual dawned, a morbidly bright holoclip reflecting the unnatural ambience around Claire and her children. As hours trickled away, dread settled within her like lead, dark and foreboding. They were all bound now, face to face with their worst nightmare. The chamber soon filled with alien onlookers, all reflected grotesquely in Claire's mind. Stripped of individuality, they blended into a single monstrous entity coming alive in a twisted manner. One by one, members of the alien race entered the chamber, sparking a harsh excitement within them, groans of hunger rolling like thunder. An alien high priest emerged, holding steaming cauldrons filled with a bubbling liquid that filled the air with a sickeningly sweet scent, one that mocked them in their horror. It was meant to seduce their souls into the pot, agreeing to their deaths. Claire watched as the priest approached Jace, murmurs erupting around. She gasped and screamed, "No!" But her cries fell on deaf ears. The alien grabbed Jace's frail body, dragging him toward the boiling cauldron. "Stop, stop, please, please," Claire begged as she fought against her bonds, the ropes digging into her flesh. But the more she struggled, the tighter they seemed to bind her. Mila wailed beside her, the pitch of her cries reaching a desperate crescendo as the reality slowly seeped into them. It wasn't just a sacrifice. They would be boiled alive before being devoured by those who once seemed so far removed from humanity. Claire's heart shattered with each pitiful look she exchanged with her children. In a desperate act, she screamed her last words of love to Jace, a fire igniting within her resolve. The world felt surreal as Claire ratcheted up her strength and ripped her bonds apart. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, and she lunged towards the cauldron. But it was too late. The boiling liquid swallowed Jace whole, the high-pitched cry he released resonating in the chamber. Mila's screams were now echoed in the audience, a symphony of humanity obliterating with each passing second, as Jace was doomed to a fate no child should ever endure. The feasting began right after. Claire and Mila sat shackled together, shocked and broken. The horrific spectacle had driven Claire to a point of numbing disbelief. She struggled to process the gruesome death of her son and how she had done nothing to protect him. As the cackles and songs of the alien feast exploded in the air, strength drained from Claire. She turned to Mila, kneeling beside her. "We'll find a way out," Claire murmured, her heart aching at the brokenness in her daughter's eyes. But there was an unsettling truth that loomed heavy. Without Jace, Claire felt an anchor lost. The ritual continued, the high priest pouring the remainder of Jace into another pot incensed with special spices. The acrid smoke soon enveloped the chamber, making Claire's stomach churn violently. It was no longer just flesh, it was the essence of joy, hope, innocence, consumed unceremoniously. The aliens feasted as if every bite tore at Claire's soul, mocking everything she had stood for as a mother. Yet inside, blurred lines began to form. Life had stripped her clean. As the alien race celebrated, Claire's heart ignited with a flicker of rage, a shadow of revenge that now was her only companion. Suddenly, towards the back of the chamber, she saw a faint shimmer, perhaps remnants of her previous life, perhaps the last traces of hope struggling against the all-consuming darkness. She began to enact a plan, channeling the rage of everything she had lost. "Wait here, Mila," Claire whispered, her voice low, simmering with intent. "No, you're not going to leave me." Mila protested, but Claire shook her head. "If they take you, or worse, they vivisect you, the only way out is to give you a fighting chance. You need to trust me." As Claire carefully crept away, she felt the heat in the cauldron behind her. It was boiling the remnants of what once was her son, and now she was combining that anger into a weapon. Claire knocked over one of the steaming cauldrons, the liquid spilling onto the ground. The aliens recoiled with sudden surprise. But before she could act further, the mob turned their attention to her. They snarled and shouted, the cacophony blocking out the underlying screams of agony and despair woven into each beat of her heart. In an instant of distraction, as flames bloomed, Claire caught a glimpse. Mila was fighting against her own restraints, desperate for escape. Then, as if droplets of life clung to them, the screams rose, drowned out by a surge of heat. The aliens surged toward Claire, their interest shifting, a bruise of chaos blooming throughout the arena. The hooded high priest, witnessing the chaos spread across the chamber, roared low. It signaled reinforcements, who came bounding toward Claire amidst confusion erupting around them. "Mila," Claire cried, tears streaming as if her heart wanted to leap from her chest and join her daughter. "They're coming for you." Mila cried out, her voice fading against the tumult of dark emotions closing in. The alien rush was brutal, fires erupting around them as the boiling liquids danced dangerously close to the subjects they were meant to be cooking. The ranks of the aliens closed in around Claire, but something within her, a final flicker of the resolve she had clung to as a mother, swelled. She lunged toward the high priest, determined to make a statement, a mark against the twisted race that had obliterated her family. In her distraction, Mila looked toward the chaos, her voice shaking as she cried out, "Mom, behind you! Look out!" Claire felt the presence before her. A stabbing pain shot through her side as one of the aliens had landed a blow, her vision swimming. "No!" she screamed, fiery anguish swelling into the air like the ashes of what was left of her heart. As she teetered, the boiling cauldron tipped dangerously close, almost beckoning her. "Mila, run! Get out of here," Claire shouted, rage and despair mingling into a bitter concoction of loss as flames soared around them. The high priest howled as the boiling water splashed upon them, the chaos fanning the flames of despair. As Claire was dragged away by a pair of wide, alien hands, she could feel a weightless grasp of terror on her chest, as if the darkness was deliberately swallowing her whole. She felt Mila's small hand slipping away, screams erupting into the void as Claire vanished, swallowed by the cacophony of laughter from her captors, the feast becoming stronger with each life consumed. In the depths of space, there would be no retribution, no end, only the bitter taste of loss and the absence of a mother's embrace as the night folded upon itself, bleak and undisturbed. Only echoes, only shadows, and the void grew overwhelming, stretching endlessly into a fate devoid of hope. Please like, share, and subscribe.